Well, good morning from a very cloudy Bradford interchange. Finally, after about 3-4 months, I think, we're back with another Riding the Railway Line episode. Quite a few of you thought that I'd just forgotten about this series. I hadn't forgotten about this series. I was just waiting for the perfect opportunity. And today, I've got that perfect opportunity. Today we're going to be taking a ride down the other part of the Calder Valley line to Blackpool North on board one of Northern's Class 195 sets. 195 108 is going to be working our service today, the 11:15 through, like I say, to Blackpool North. Now, upon boarding, I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that this train was not full and standing for a change.
Welcome aboard this northern train to Blackpool North. We will call at Halifax, Hebden Bridge, Burnley Manchester Road, Accrington, Blackburn, Preston,
Quite quiet for a Blackpool
Kirkham and
train, isn't it?
Poulton-le-Fylde and Blackpool North. The next station will be Halifax.
There you go. Thanks, announcements, for doing my job for me there. I didn't even have to tell you what route we're going to be taking. We're going to be taking the Calder Valley line, the other part of the Calder Valley line, down to Blackpool North. Now, we have already done the Calder Valley line, the part that comes from Manchester Victoria. If you want to go check that out, then I'll leave the link to that down below. I do have a bit of a rant in that video about how busy them services get, but luckily for you today, I don't need to rant about the service being busy, because actually, it's quite quiet. And about 10 minutes after leaving Bradford Interchange, we arrive into our first stop of Halifax. Now, I have already briefly covered Halifax in another episode, but just really quickly we'll cover it again. Halifax was first opened on the 1st of July 1844 as Halifax Shore Psych. Then in 1850 it was recited and named Halifax. Then it was rebuilt and enlarged in 1885, and then 1890 it was renamed as Halifax Old. 1951 it was renamed Halifax Town, and then 1961 it was renamed back to just simply Halifax, which it's still called today. As we approach Sowerby Bridge, which we do not stop at on this journey, you can just make out the Wayne House Tower, which is also sometimes known as the Tower of Spite. Now, that is located in the King Cross area of Halifax. It is 275 feet tall, 84 metres, and it is the tallest structure in Calderdale. It was built between 1871 and 1875, and originally it was built to serve the Washer Lane Dye Works, which was owned by a guy called Wayne House, which is why it's called Wayne House Tower. Now, this service from York to Blackpool North is an express-ish service, which means it does skip quite a lot of stations, including this one, Mytholmroyd.
The next station will be Hebden Bridge. This is Hebden Bridge.
And before long, we're arriving into our next station along the line, Hebden Bridge. Now, Hebden Bridge, again, that's another station that featured in the other Calder Valley line video. So, again, go check that one out if you want to know the full history of a Hebden Bridge station. But just a little bit for you. Hebden Bridge opened on the 5th of October 1840, then the current station and buildings opened in 1893, and then it was refurbished in 1997. Now, here's a question for you. When you think of scenic railway lines, what comes to mind? Because I would imagine it's probably the West Highland line, Settle and Carlisle line, Highland Main line, that sort of thing. But what if I told you the Calder Valley line, or at least the stretch between Hebden Bridge and Burnley-Manchester Road, is incredibly scenic? Just wait until you see this. I mean, just look at that scenery, that is spectacular. And I bet if I showed you that without context, you would probably not guess that that is the Calder Valley line, would you? And as we approach the border of Yorkshire and Lancashire, the scenery just gets better and better. I mean, this really is, I think, by far the best part of the Calder Valley line. And just like that, we are arriving to our next station along the line, Burnley-Manchester Road. Now, Burnley-Manchester Road is the main station for the town of Burnley. And this station was opened on the 1st of November 1866, replacing the previous Burnley Thornybank station. Now, Burnley-Manchester Road then closed to passenger traffic on the 6th of November 1961 and to goods in April 1973. Now, the station was then reopened in September 1986, 2 years after the successful reintroduction of services between Leeds, Preston and Blackpool North.
The next station will be Accrington. Mind the gap between the train and the platform edge.
And would you look at that, we're already arriving into the next station, Accrington. Now, Accrington was opened on the 10th of June 1848 by the East Lancashire Railway. Now, this station used to be a much bigger, busier station as it was formerly a major junction on the East Lancashire Railway with the line to Bury and Salford diverging southwards from the line towards Blackburn and Preston. Now, this was also a busy commuter station carrying regular trains from Skipton and Colne to Manchester Victoria. However, Beeching came along and axed that line, so it closed to passengers on the 5th of December 1966. Fast forwarding to a bit more recently, in 2011, the station underwent a major rebuild as part of this project to create a model of sustainable energy use for a railway station. This redevelopment cost £2 million. The previously existing ticket office has been demolished and then was replaced by a new build, which was constructed where possible with local materials including recycled stone. And it's not long after leaving Accrington that we arrive into our next station, Blackburn. Now, Blackburn station first opened in 1846 as part of the rapid expansion of the railway network during the Industrial Revolution. Now, at the time, Blackburn was becoming a major mill town, so the station quickly became important for moving cotton, coal, as well as the workers. As traffic increased, the station was rebuilt and expanded in the 19th century, giving it larger platforms and better facilities. And then, after World War II happened, due to car travel and decline of industry in the area, it saw less use. Now, in the 1990s and 2000s, the station was upgraded with these new buildings that you can see today, and also improved accessibility. And now we pass through one of the other smaller stations along this line, Mill Hill. We pass through one of the smaller East Lancashire line stations, Bamber Bridge. Now, I believe there's one or two Blackpool to York services that actually stop at a couple of these stations a day. I believe. If anyone knows otherwise, can you please let me know in the comments? Thank you. This is another one of the stations along the line that we don't stop at, Lostock Hall. Here we join the West Coast Main Line just before Preston, and we actually pass the site of the former Todd Lane Station, formerly Preston Junction Station. Now, this station saw its last passenger train in October 1968 after many of the lines serving it were deemed unnecessary and passenger numbers declined. Now we soon arrive into the biggest station along this journey, Preston. Now Preston has got a big massive railway history, we can't possibly go through it all. However, it opened on the 31st of October 1838, it was rebuilt in July 1880, in 1903 new platforms were added to the west side, in 1913 new platforms were added to the east side, and in 1972 the platforms for the East Lancashire line closed.
You'll find information about safety and security on posters in see anything concerning, please speak to our team or text the British.
Now, on this particular day, there was quite a heavy British Transport Police presence at Preston Station, and they were walking up and down the platform looking in the carriages looking for someone. So, I don't know what was going on there, but it wasn't me. Or well, it might have been me, but they didn't find me, did they? Ha 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 ha. But I don't think it was me. But if it was me, then they didn't find me. But I don't think it was me, so I think I'm all good there. Now, interestingly, when looking at Preston Station, it seems that there's been quite a number of accidents in and around the Preston area. We've had light engines running into the rear of a passenger train in 1919, injuring 20 people. A freight train colliding with a light engine in 1920. 1929, two locomotives collided while shunting. And then in 2017, a passenger train operated by a Class 158 from York collided with the buffers, and 15 people were injured. And then in also 1986, a Class 104 diesel multiple unit suffered a brake failure past 3 signals at danger and collided with another locomotive. 44 people were injured.
The next station will be Kirkham and Poulton-le-Fylde.
We now arrive into our next station on the journey, Kirkham and Wesham, or Wesham. I think some people call it Wesham, some people call it Wesham. Now, this station opened in 1840 and was originally located to the west, and it was named Kirkham. Then it was rebuilt in 1890, moved to the east, and then renamed Kirkham and Wesham. Whatever, I don't know. Now, originally there were 2 platforms, but work in 2017 to 18 added a 3rd platform. There's also been some huge improvements to the station during the electrification and just a whole rebuild in general. This improved signalling on the line, there was a whole new track layout, and then that footbridge and lift that you just saw then, that was also installed as well. And we're now arriving to our next station of Poulton-le-Fylde. Now, the original Poulton-le-Fylde station was sited about 400 yards northeast of the current location. From 1846, there was a junction to Blackpool just north of the station with a tight connecting curve facing either way. Then in 1896, a fatal accident occurred when a train took the curve too fast, which subsequently meant that the tracks were realigned to allow for a much gentler westward curve on the line to Blackpool, with the new station being located halfway along that curve. And just like that, that was the final stop of the journey before we terminate into Blackpool North. And funnily enough, I did not think Poulton-le-Fylde was that popular of a stop, but the train almost completely emptied there. which I thought was quite... Was there anything going on the 27th of November in Poulton-le-Fylde that I was not aware of? Someone please let me know, I'm fascinated. Anyway, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey into Blackpool. We now pass through another one of those smaller stations that this service does not call at. This is the final stop before Blackpool North, Leighton.
Which is our final stop. Please check you have everything with you and keep your tickets handy until you leave the station. If you've booked assistance, our team will be on the way, or contact our dedicated assisted travel team using WhatsApp. If you spot anything suspicious...
And just like that, we're arriving into Blackpool North. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, press like, subscribe, leave a comment if you so wish. And yeah, that has been the journey down the other part of the Calder Valley line, / a bit of the East Lancashire line, / a bit of the Blackpool branch line. It's all, it's different names for it all depending what journey you're doing, but yeah, it's partly Calder Valley line, it's partly East Lancashire line, and it's partly Blackpool branch line, and also that small section of the West Coast main line as well. But we'll just call it the Calder Valley, the other part of the Calder Valley line for ease. So yeah, that's it for the journey. You can see we're pulling into the platform here at Blackpool North Station. Now, I don't know about anyone else, I've always thought Blackpool North is a bit of a weird station, but that's just me, especially with the whole, you've got to wait until the train pulls in and then they open the door, and it's just the whole system at Blackpool North is a bit weird, but hey, let's just let Blackpool North do their thing. That's a whole other conversation for a different day, isn't it? But yeah, here we are. I always think it's really nice arriving into Blackpool and then getting to go down to the promenade and all that. But look, stay tuned, because next week on the channel, things are getting Christmassy. Oh yes, things are getting Christmassy here on the channel next week. So make sure you tune in. And that's enough blabbering on and twittering for me. I'm gonna go now. Bye.